Okay, I've been thinking about this all week.
About what?
Last episode, the medieval peasants, the 150 days off. I keep coming back to the same question. How?
How what?
How did we lose it? Like, at some point between the year 1500 and now, someone or a bunch of someone's decided, you know what? Let's just stop doing the thing that works. And we all went along with it.
Well,
And I've been furious about it. Jackson woke up at 4 a.m. yesterday needing a diaper change. And I was just lying there in the dark thinking some peasant named Elfric got more sleep than me.
did you actually sleep at all this week?
4 hours a night, maybe. But I'm wired. I'm mad. I want answers. Valerie and I are constantly taking care of the baby. Then there's work. It never ends.
Okay, well, buckle up because the answer is depressing.
Good. I'm ready to be depressed.
Are you though? It seems you're usually just ready to be angry.
Well, I grew up with an angry Irish father.
What was he angry about?
Mostly about bad beer and social injustice. So you see, I'm already angry and depressed from my upbringing. Mike, I just want more reasons to justify it empirically. I mark everyone and I haven't slept properly in a week because I can't stop thinking about medieval peasants and diapers and spreadsheets.
That's very on brand for you.
So today, I'm ready to start a rampage that might explain how did we go from 150 days off to basically none.
If you didn't listen to part I, you should probably go back and listen because otherwise this is going to sound insane to everyone. We're picking up exactly where we left off.
But if you're the kind of person who jumps into the middle of things, high medieval peasants had way more time off than you. It's been scientifically proven, and today we're explaining how capitalism stole your vacation.
That's reductive, but not entirely wrong.
It's correct. And by the end of this episode, you're going to be either organising a union or moving to Germany.
Probably both.
Let's do this. Okay, so before we get to the Industrial Revolution, I want to talk about something that's been bugging me. We chose this, right? Like, at some point, society decided that individual flexibility was more important than collective rest.
I don't think we chose it exactly.
No, hear me out. We went from everyone has the same holidays to everyone negotiate your own PTO package and told ourselves that was progress, that we were being empowered.
But it is a form of empowerment. You have freedom to choose when you take time off.
But I don't. Mike, that's the illusion. I can't take time off when my friends are available because they're all working different schedules. I can't take extended time off because Jackson just started daycare and we're still figuring out what's covered. I can't take time during pilot season because everyone in this city is hustling for their one shot.
Okay, but that's specific to LA and the entertainment industry and also your specific life choices.
Oh, life choices? Really?
I'm just saying you chose to have a kid. You chose to live in one of the most expensive cities in America.
Yeah, and you chose to buy a Corvette you can't afford. But I don't see how that's relevant to whether medieval peasants had better work-life balance.
The Corvette is a sound investment.
It's a 2019 Stingray that you're paying 8% interest on.
How do you even know that?
I have my sources. Anyway, the point is we're both making choices within a system that's completely rigged. So acting like individual choice is some kind of freedom.
Bernie Sanders said that it was rigged, didn't he? Anyway, my line of thinking is that we have more freedom today than a medieval peasant had.
Must you always lump me in with Bernie Sanders and then you go on to contradict me in my face?
Yes, I love doing that. Anyway, all of your choices are constrained by economics and geography and circumstance, but at least you have choices. A peasant couldn't say, you know what, I'm going to move to the next village over because they have better opportunities. They were legally bound to the land.
Yeah, and I'm economically bound to my job because I need healthcare for myself, my wife, and my little girl. What's the functional difference?
The functional difference is that you can, if you really wanted to, quit tomorrow and find a different job. It would be hard, it would suck, but it's possible. A medieval serf? Impossible. Literally illegal. They'd be hunted down and dragged back.
How often do you think about quitting?
Quitting what?
Your job. How often do you think about just walking away?
I don't know. Sometimes. Why are we...
Because I think about it constantly. And then I remember I have a daughter and the choice isn't really a choice. It's like when Jackson cries at 3 a.m. and my wife and I both pretend to be asleep hoping the other gets up.
Valerie does that. Awesome.
That's what quitting feels like. It's admitting that I lost, that I'm defeated.
I know. I'm the same way. Why are we like this?
Because the system makes us feel like our worth is tied to our choices.
That's probably right.
When's the last time you took a real day off?
I don't know.
This is exactly the problem. We're talking about medieval peasants having 150 days off, and neither of us has taken vacation in over a year.
Okay, so how did we get here to our present day jobs? The short answer is the Industrial Revolution.
That's it, isn't it?
That's the pivot point. Roughly 1760 to 1840, starting in Britain, spreading across Europe and America. The shift from agricultural economies to industrial capitalism.
And that changed work. How?
Completely. See, agricultural work is seasonal. You have to work with natural rhythms. You can't harvest wheat in January. The ground is frozen. But factory work, machines don't care about seasons. They can run 24/7, and factory owners wanted to maximize their use.
So they just made people work constantly.
Yep. Early 1800s, factory workers, including children, by the way, were doing 12 to 16-hour days, 6 or 7 days a week. It was brutal.
Yikes.
And there was no such thing as weekends. No paid time off, no holidays. If you didn't work, you didn't eat.
How did people not revolt?
They did. That's the thing. The 8-hour workday, the weekend, child labour laws, all of that came from labour organising. Strikes, protests, literal battles between workers and factory owners. People died fighting for the 40-hour work week.
And now we're just giving it back?
We're not giving it back. We're just not pushing forward. And here's where it gets really insidious. The Protestant work ethic.
I've heard of this, but I don't really get it.
Max Weber wrote about it in The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism, published in 1905. His argument was that Protestantism, especially Calvinism, created a culture where hard work was seen as morally virtuous, where idleness was sinful, where your success in business was a sign of God's favour.
That's genius if you're a factory owner.
Exactly. If you can convince workers that overworking themselves is holy, you don't have to pay them more. They'll do it voluntarily. It becomes a moral obligation.
So the Catholic Church gave peasants 150 days off, and the Protestant Church said, actually, work yourself to death. It's what God wants.
Essentially, yes. Martin Luther and John Calvin were not fans of Catholic holidays. They saw them as superstitious, wasteful, not focused enough on work and discipline.
So Protestants invented hustle culture.
Kind of. And this provided the cultural groundwork for industrial capitalism. By the time factories came around, there was already this ideology in place that said working is good, resting is lazy, your value as a person is determined by your productivity.
That's what I feel every single day.
Same. And it's by design.
So, what happened next?
Well, you had this brutal early industrial period and workers started organising. And they won some victories, 8-hour workdays in the 1930s, weekends, overtime pay. But then in the 1970s and the 1980s, productivity exploded thanks to computers and automation.
And we should have worked less?
Exactly. In the 1930s, economist John Maynard Keynes predicted that by the year 2000, we'd all be working 15-hour weeks because of technological advancement. We'd solve the problem of production. We could make enough stuff with way less labour.
But that didn't happen.
No. Instead, productivity went up, way up, but instead of working less, we just worked the same amount and produced more, and all the gains went to capital.
How much?
Executive compensation increased 940% between 1978 and 2020, while typical worker compensation went up only about 12%.
940%?
I know.
So that means if a worker makes, say, $45,000, then the executive makes over $42 million?
You got it, baby. Isn't that disgusting?
So we got more productive, created more wealth, and decided that all of it should go to like 50 dudes at the top?
Basically, yes. And in America and Britain especially, the Reagan-Thatcher era doubled down on deregulation, weakened unions, and glorified overwork.
The greed is good era.
Gordon Gekko wasn't supposed to be aspirational, but he became it. And now we're here, working more than medieval peasants, with all the technology in the world, because we chose to distribute the gains of productivity to capital instead of to workers.
We didn't choose that. They chose that.
I hate to say it, but that sounds about right. Okay, so we've spent 2 episodes now talking about how screwed we are. What can people actually do with this information?
Talk about it. Seriously. If more people understood that working 250 plus days a year isn't natural or inevitable, that it's a choice we're making collectively, maybe that shifts the conversation.
Consciousness raising matters. The labour movements we talked about earlier started with people just talking to each other, realising they weren't alone in their awful predicament.
Right? So, step 1, admit you're burned out. Tell your friends, tell your co-workers, stop performing the "I'm crushing it" thing, because it's exhausting and it's making everyone else feel worse.
And then what? Individually, what can one person do?
Set boundaries where you can. If you're able to, and I know not everyone is, don't answer work emails after 6 p.m. Actually use your personal time off rather than hoarding it out of fear. Take your lunch break.
Track your hours. I started doing this last month and it's horrifying. I thought I was working 40 hours a week. I'm actually working 52 when you include all the evening emails and weekend prep work.
Exactly. And once you see it, you can't unsee it.
But beyond individual actions, what about collective change? Because that's really where the power is.
Unions. If you can join or form one, do it. I know that's scary, and I know some industries make it nearly impossible, but collective bargaining is the single most effective tool workers have ever had.
And unions aren't just about wages. They negotiate for working conditions, time off, protection from arbitrary firing. The German system has works councils that give employees a voice in company decisions.
Wait, really?
Yeah. In Germany, any company with more than 5 employees has to have a works council if workers want one. They have real power to negotiate over things like working hours, vacation time, workplace safety.
That's incredible. Why don't we have that?
Because American labour law is deliberately designed to make organising difficult. The Taft-Hartley Act of 1947 restricted union power. Right to work laws in 27 states make it harder to maintain union membership.
So it's not that we can't have better protections, it's that we've specifically legislated against them.
Correct. Which means the solution is political. Vote for candidates who support labour protections. And I don't just mean presidential elections, local and state elections matter more for this stuff.
What about the 4-day work week? You mentioned that's been tested. How is it actually going?
Really well. Iceland ran a trial from 2015 to 2019 over 2,500 workers. They reduced hours from 40 to 35 or 36 per week with no pay cut. Result, productivity stayed the same or improved, and workers reported better work-life balance, less stress, less burnout.
And companies actually agreed to this?
They did, because the data showed it worked. Microsoft Japan tried a 4-day work week in 2019, productivity went up 40%. Belgium just passed a law in 2022 giving workers the right to request a 4-day week. The UK ran trials in 2022, 2023 with 61 companies, and 92% of them decided to continue with the shorter week after the trial ended.
So this isn't pie-in-the-sky fantasy. This is happening right now in real countries with real companies.
Exactly. The evidence is overwhelming that people work better when they're not exhausted. But getting American companies to try it requires either legislation or enough worker pressure that they have to...
What about healthcare? Because that's the big one that keeps people trapped.
That's the biggest structural change we'd need. Every other developed country has figured out how to decouple healthcare from employment. Single payer, multi-payer, various models, but none of them tie your ability to see a doctor to your job.
And that would fundamentally change the power dynamic.
Completely. If you could quit without losing healthcare, suddenly your employer has way less leverage. You have actual freedom to leave bad situations.
Wait, I just thought of something.
What?
Medieval peasants couldn't leave their land, right? They were legally bound to it.
Correct.
But we can't leave our jobs without losing healthcare. So we're also bound. We just convinced ourselves it's different because we signed a form.
You made that point last episode, but I agree with you. That's genuinely unsettling.
Right? Like a serf would look at our system and be like, oh, so you can leave, but if you do, your family might die from preventable illness? Yeah, no, I get it. That's way better than my situation.
I hate that that's a valid comparison.
We are all serfs, but with more paperwork than in the Middle Ages.
Okay, I see that look in your eyes. You're starting to get really mad.
I'm perfectly calm. I'm just having realizations.
You're having a lot of realizations this week.
Because it all seems terrible to me. Sorry, I'm also tired and running on fumes.
I'm sorry about that. The emotions are raw, mine too, but the rational answer is the need for us to organise, vote, push for policy change.
Yeah. What else?
Support businesses with better practices when you can. Endorse worker cooperatives. Favour companies that are transparent about their labour practices. But individual consumer choices aren't enough. We need systemic change.
So the lesson is, if you want your life to suck less, you have to fight for it with other people.
Which is exhausting when you're already exhausted.
The system is very efficient that way.
Yes. It's hard to fight when you're already tired.
Okay, so let's bring this home.
Medieval peasants in Western Europe, roughly 1200 and 1500 CE, worked somewhere between 150 and 180 days per year. Modern Americans work about 250 days per year. That's 100 extra days of labour that we've somehow normalised.
And those weren't primitive people who didn't understand productivity. They had a system that recognized humans need regular rest to function. The church mandated it. Society organized around it.
Whereas we've built a system that treats rest as optional, that pathologizes exhaustion as personal failure, that tells us if we're not constantly producing, we're wasting our potential.
And that system is making us sick. Literally. Burnout rates are all-time highs. Mental health crises are epidemic.
Instead of addressing the systemic causes, we get mindfulness apps and self-care Instagram posts.
You can't self-care your way out of a broken system.
But, and this is important, this isn't inevitable. We know it's not inevitable because other countries have figured out how to maintain strong economies while giving workers more time off, better benefits, actual protections.
So the question is, why haven't we?
Political will. Or lack thereof. But that can change. Labour movements have won massive victories before 40-hour workweek, overtime pay, workplace safety regulations. All of it came from collective action.
So if there's hope, it's in organising.
Talk to your co-workers, join or form a union if you can, vote for people who support labour protections, push for policies like mandatory paid leave, 4-day work weeks.
And just admit you're struggling. Stop pretending you're fine when you're falling apart.
Because I guarantee you're not alone.
Jackson woke up at 4:47 this morning. I wondered if medieval peasants dealt with this.
Infant sleep patterns are timeless.
Not comforting.
At least you don't worry about wolves. Wolves were a real worry back then.
That's where we're setting the bar?
Progress. Sort of.
You know what though? I realised that changing diapers in the Middle Ages meant no running water and no disposable diapers. Just cloth and hope.
Oh, God, I didn't even think about that.
Of course you didn't. Like, they had more time off, sure. But they also had to manually scrub baby shit out of cloth with cold water from a well.
That's horrifying.
But here is what I keep coming back to. Medieval peasants didn't have to fight for those 150 days off. The system just included them. It was understood that humans need rest.
And we've lost that understanding.
So either we fight to get it back, or we just keep drowning.
Either we change or we collapse.
I'm still exhausted, but at least now I'm mad about it, instead of just sad.
Anger is a better motivator than despair.
Put that on a tote bag. That was part 2 of our deep dive into medieval work-life balance. If you missed part 1, go back and listen, it'll make way more sense.
If your boss asks you to do boon work unpaid overtime, remember that medieval peasants at least got bread and weak ale. You're getting grocery store sheet cake if you're lucky.
And their lord ate prime rib. Nothing has changed. Everything is feudalism.
After 2 episodes about labour theory, I think that next week's episode should be about something else.
I actually don't care what we talk about. This podcast is my only adult conversation that isn't about Bluey. If you're enjoying it, tell a friend, leave a review.
And help me justify keeping the Corvette one more month.
You're going to sell it.
I know. Monica's going to win.
She always does. I'm Mark.
I'm Mike.
Rest is not laziness.
Rest is resistance.
History just got fun again.
Goodbye. I'm going to take a nap. See you next time.